Hi guys, welcome back to the Spurred On podcast. Today, it's Tuesday. I thought let's do a player ratings so far. As ever, it's the international week. We're all bored to tears. Harry Kane keeps scoring for England, but we want the Premier League back, and thankfully it's going to be back this weekend with the difficult trip to Aston Villa. So I thought, why not? Let's take stock. How have the players and the manager done this season so far? I'll give my thoughts on that, and then let me know how you feel in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube, and also in the comments if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. Please do, if you're listening on your favourite podcast platform, come across to YouTube and give us a subscribe and a comment. The YouTube channel is at youtube.com/@BarnabySlater_, and vice versa. If you're watching on YouTube, please do come and listen on your favourite podcast platform, be that Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get it. Often the podcast episode daily will be out earlier than the YouTube episode, which tends to come out at about 5 o'clock. Anyway, let's get into those player ratings. I'm going to do it by squad number. So starting with number one, I don't know why he's still number one, but it's Hugo Lloris, who clearly hasn't got a place under Big Ange whatsoever. I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I have a feeling that something happened in the changing room at that Newcastle game when we were 5-0 down at half-time last season, because Lloris didn't come out for the second half. They said he was injured, and then that he wanted to leave, and he was trying to find a club, and he couldn't find a club. And I just think maybe something happened in that half-time that made his position at the club untenable. I don't know whether that was a fight. We've seen him before, nearly having a fight with Heung-min Son back in the Mourinho days. So anything is possible, but I'm giving him a 3 out of 10 just for the fact he's there. I could have given him a 0, but I think the fact that he's just kind of got on with his job professionally and he's training and hopefully helping the keepers along in that training is worthy of a 3 out of 10. I think I've seen an interview with Big Vic Vicario, our keeper, who says that having Lloris there has made it really easy for him to settle in. He's really helped him. So I'm going to give him 3 for that. Next in the squad number list is Oliver Skipp. Interesting one with Skippy. I think I've mentioned this before as well, but I've got Norwich City fan friends who just thought he was the best player they'd had at their club for years and years and years. He's got a tireless engine, an amazing work rate, but it's just not quite happening for him at Spurs at the moment. I think he's a kind of player who needs rhythm. He needs games. He needs to be playing a lot to kind of get up to speed, and he hasn't been able to do that. He did start the first game, of course, but then he was quickly taken out for the second game of the season. Therefore, I'm only going to give Oliver Skipp a 5. I still think there's a player in there, but I think in reality he needs a Premier League loan to show that he can play a run of games over a season, or maybe from January for 6 months of a season, and then really show us what he's got to offer. Some of our best players really down the years really showed us what they can do in Premier League loans. I'm thinking of Danny Rose, I'm thinking of Kyle Walker. And maybe now is the right time for Skippy, but a lot will depend on injuries, of course. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is next. I'm giving him a 7 out of 10 because I think he's been really impressive with his professionalism, but also the way he's come off the bench in games and helped to kind of sort things out. I didn't think he had a greatest game, obviously, in our last match away, where we lost 2-1 in the last minute to Wolves, but I'm giving him 7 on the basis that I think he's been professional. He's usually been one of the first names on the team sheet in previous years, and this year he's not. But he hasn't thrown his toys out the pram. He's stuck around, and I think he's an important squad player. I personally wouldn't lose him in January unless a bid from, say, Juventus, who are apparently interested in him, comes in. That is impossible to refuse. Heung-min Son is next on the squad list. I've given him a 9 out of 10. He's really kind of evolved his game for us this season, having started the season and obviously previously always played on the left-hand side or as a kind of slightly deeper 10 on the left-hand side under Conte. Now he is the main man, the number 9, as he always did when Harry Kane was injured back in the day. He scores goals. He makes great runs across the front post for crosses, and he's an incredible finisher, elite finisher. So 9 out of 10 for Sonny. The only reason I'm not giving him a 10 is because of his last game away at Wolves. It was one of his worst games in many years. He didn't get a lot to do, but when the ball came up to him with his back to goal, I thought he was poor. So I'm taking a mark off for that, but great captaincy from him as well. He's been given the captaincy, a real leader, and I think more great things to come. I'm going to put my neck out there. I think he'll score at least 20 Premier League goals this season, at least. Let me know how many goals you think he's going to score in the comments below. Yves Bissouma is next. I've given Yves Bissouma an 8 because he started the season so strongly. He was our best player, I thought, alongside another couple of players I'll get to starting in the first kind of 6-7 games. He's dropped off a little bit. I do wonder whether that's a result of opposition managers really getting to grips with knowing that he is the key to our building up from the back Ange ball style, and maybe they're putting men on him, or whether that kind of second yellow card that got him the red card at Luton has affected his confidence a bit. I really hope not. It shouldn't. He's vital to our chances, and we need him to be playing really well. Obviously, a big miss in the next game at home to Aston Villa because he's suspended, but at least then his yellow cards go back to naught, and he can play in the Man City game. So Bissouma, 8 out of 10. Richarlison is next. Not going to say too much that I haven't already said about Richarlison. I love him. I think there's a player there, but I'm only giving him a 6 out of 10. It could potentially have been lower, but he did do a couple of great assists. The one across the box with the outside of his boot for Sonny's goal against Liverpool springs to mind. Like I said, he's a confidence player. Hopefully he, kind of similar to Sonny last season, hopefully he has been playing with that injury, and now having had this operation, it'll free him up and give him some more confidence. I just think he needs a couple of goals, and I think we could see a real player there. Next up, James Maddison, one of the few players I've given a full marks, 10 out of 10. We're already missing him like crazy since his injury. He is the key, absolute key to creatively us doing well this season. We're going to miss him until New Year, but hopefully it's early New Year. But what a player. What a steal at £40 million. 10 out of 10 for me. He can do everything, and I think we've got so much more to come from him as well. I think free kicks will start going in. I think more flair will come. He's a proper Tottenham Hotspur player, and long may it continue. Brian Hill, I'm going to talk about quickly. 6 out of 10. He's too lightweight at the moment for the Premier League. I think even though he's got such talent on the ball and he's great, it's almost like fullbacks know they can just knock him down. It's difficult for him. I can see him going on loan again to Spain and possibly leaving properly in the summer. It's a shame though, because if he could bulk up like David Silva did, what a player he could be. Emerson Royale next, 6.5 out of 10. Good defender, not a left back, really struggled against Wolves, disappointing. But I'm giving him the 6.5. He scored because he scored the goal in the first day against Brentford, which was a good finish, and he's a worker. And also, I think he's important to the kind of happiness of the South Americans in the squad, particularly Richarlison. Vicario is one of the players I'm giving a 10 out of 10. Couldn't be happier with him. Lots of fans were unhappy that we went for a cheaper option than David Raya, but I think Vicario has proven that at 27 he's got the maturity to be our number one. He's an insane shot stopper. Shot stopping, for me, I used to be a goalkeeper, shot stopping is the kind of default setting of a goalkeeper, and it should be the easiest part for them almost, but he pulls out saves that not many other keepers would. And then also I think his distribution has been good, and he's a big guy, and he's a lot more powerful coming for crosses and corners and set pieces than Hugo ever was. So I think it's a good upgrade, and I've been delighted with him. Ivan Perisic, I'm just giving a 5. Unlucky with injuries. We miss him in terms of coming on off the bench and setting up crosses, setting up goals with crosses, especially for Richarlison. Eric Dyer, I'm going to give a 6. I thought he played all right in the last game. I've got a bit of stick for saying that, but I thought he really gave everything, and he was just kind of unfortunate in the end. Lots of people blaming him for the second goal from Wolves for not following the runner from midfield, but that's not his runner. The midfielder should have gone with him. I thought he played well, and I think he's going to continue to play well. I like Eric Dyer. He's not perfect for Ange ball by any means, but he never gives less than 100%, so I don't like it when people abuse him. Christian Romero, I'm giving an 8. He's knocked off a mark because of his sending off. It's absolutely wild challenge, which was a sending off against Chelsea, but what a player. We're so lucky to have him. Gio Lo Celso, 6 out of 10. Not much to say, really. I think he's going to have to get a chance, though. Hopefully actually against Villa, because we need more creativity. So I want that 6 out of 10 to become a 7 and an 8. If we can get him on the ball and get him in decent positions, there's a brilliant technical player there. Lionel Messi said it so himself, so why would I disagree? Sessegnon, 3. No fault of his own, just injured. Fraser Forster, 5, hasn't done anything. Deki Kulusevski, a lot of fans, thinking he's not playing very well. But for me, I think he is. The problem is he needs runners getting outside him and inside him. Pedro Porro from right fullback. Yes, he's playing inverted, but he needs to do more like he did for that first goal against Wolves, where he's offering Kulusevski the run on the outside, and therefore the defender has to go with the runner, and that opens up Kulusevski to take a shot to the far corner that he's so good at and loves so much, or cross it to the far corner. So I think Kulusevski's kind of everyone complaining about him is more about the fact he's not got players working outside him and inside him to help him out as much as he needs. Brennan Johnson, 7 out of 10. Been very impressed with him. He's not had a lot of chances because he's been injured, but I think we've got a player on our hands. Pedro Porro, as I mentioned, that's pretty much the only mistake I'd say from him, other than the fact he gets caught under the ball at the back stick quite a lot. But I think he's done really well. 7.5 out of 10. Manor Solomon, 6.5. Looked lively before he got his injury, so I'm giving him a half point over 6 for that. Pat Matassar, tremendous player. Tremendous 20-year-old talent. 8 out of 10 for him. Very excited to see how he comes on over the rest of the season and for the future. It's a shame we're going to be losing him for the African Cup of Nations. Rodrigo Bentancur, 6, but I see that rising to 7 and 8 and 9. He's going to be vital for us as he gets through his injury. Ben Davis, 6.5. Similar to Eric Dyer. Thought he played well when his chance came in. Honest professional. Giving him a half point over 6 and that, but he hasn't had many chances, of course. Ashley Phillips, 6. We haven't seen him, so I'm just giving him a 6. Valise, similar, 6. When he's come on, he's looked like he wants to get involved. Brilliant in the air, but not much more than that. Mickey van der Ven is one of the 3 10 out of 10s. What a player. So lucky to have him. Delighted to have got him through the door. The pace is unbelievable. Just hope that his injury doesn't ruin that pace. But even still, a great reader of the game and a great defender and an absolute steal at £40 million. Destiny Udogie, I'm giving a 9. He would have a 10, but he got that sending off, which was rash. Apparently he had an injury, so hopefully he's had time now over the international break to sort that out. But what a player and vital to us. We need him to play against Villa because that left-sided fullback inverting into central midfield is absolutely huge, and we missed him so much against Wolves. And finally, the manager, the boss man, the big guy, Big Ange, 9 out of 10. Hardly a foot wrong for me, just unlucky in the last couple of the games. Chelsea was completely wild, and then the Wolves game, I agree with him. The players weren't positive enough. He's going to drum in that positivity again for Villa. Lots of people very worried about this Villa game. Yes, it'll be difficult, but do I think we'll win? Yes, I do. Positivity all the way. Guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. Please do follow, subscribe on the podcast platforms, be that Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and vice versa. Come over to YouTube if you're listening on the podcast, youtube.com/@BarnabySlater_. Thank you so much, and come on, you Spurs.